This is Ayanni.
And this is Corinne.
And you're listening to Sex, Love, Literature, a pop culture podcast where we take a semi-scholarly look at why
and how
the sex stuff in media matters.
Welcome to our second episode on the Chinese drama Lost You Forever Part 2. Picking up where we left off, we jump right into Tushan, Jing, and Xiao Yao's relationship as the ostensible OTP of the show.
From there, we consider just how sad our snake demon man Xiang Liu made us in his determination to push Xiao Yao away, as well as Anyan's surprisingly poignant maturation arc.
Did you also have a complicated reaction to how Lost You Forever ended? Let us know on Instagram at SexLoveLit and on Tumblr at SexLoveLitPodcast.
Especially on Tumblr. And don't forget to subscribe to and rate our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms.
All right, let's get started. Hello, listeners. Welcome back to another episode of SLL. Today we are going to continue our discussion of Lost You Forever Part 2. But before we do that, we will do a lightning round of What's Sparking Joy. Ayanni, do you have the blurb of What's Sparking Joy memorized, or do you want me to do it?
I don't. You just do it so good, but I can try if you'd like. So What's Sparking Joy is a quick moment where we talk about some kind of media, pop culture, movies, televisions, music, whatever, that is bringing us joy in our lives. This is a special, quick, super duper lightning round of What's Sparking Joy, in which we are picking the top song from our on repeat playlist on Spotify. So, Corinne, what is the top song for you this, week? I don't know when this playlist refreshes, but...
So... Not quite at the top, because the top one is one on my sleep playlist. The second to the top is Spring Snow by 10 Centimeters, which is the sort of, not titular, but like peak song from the K-drama Lovely Runner. It's really lovely. I like it a lot. Highly recommend. 10 Centimeters is a good K-drama OST group, I think, or artist. I'm not actually sure if it's a group or an artist. But I like Spring Snow, I think, as much as I like Nightfalling from Yumi's Cells, which is the other one that Ayanni and I both really love. So, Spring Snow, Lovely Runner, still living rent-free in the back of my head.
That does not surprise me. If what you send me on Instagram is any indication, it'll probably be there for a while. So for me, my top song is Love Heart Cheat Code by Hiatus Kaiyote. It is the title track of their most recently dropped album, and I am obsessed with this song. It's weird, but I really, really like it. It's calming in a sense, and it like both makes sense and doesn't. I don't know. I love this song. But one of the lines that I absolutely love from it is, not fragile like a flower, but fragile like a bomb. And I sing that with like my whole heart every time like the song comes on. So like I just really like the song, and I'm not surprised, honestly, that it's my number one on repeat right now. So that's that.
All right. So I guess with that, then we will dive right back into Lost You Forever Part 2. If you're for some reason listening to this before our Part 1 episode on Lost You Forever 2, if you want to hear more about Xiao Yao and Song Zhuan and some of the changes from the book, then that is the podcast episode for you. But we are going to kick this off with a discussion of our main pair, I guess, from the show. So Xiao Yao and our lovely nine-tailed fox man, Tushan Jing. So what did you think of their storyline, Ayanni?
Okay, so I was rooting for them to get together from the beginning. I was like
from the beginning,
yes.
beginning? Like when he was Yu Chi Chi?
No. When Xiao Yao had returned to being Xiao Yao and was no longer, when she was no longer Xiao Liu, because she could perhaps be more honest about what she was feeling. And I don't know. So this is something that I've wanted to see since like the second half of Part 1. In part because I was so very wrapped up in this storyline with him and the baby that wasn't his baby, whose name I'm forgetting, but with Fang Fang Yi Ying, right? And all of that mess and nonsense, it felt like it was standing in the way of his and Xiao Yao's happiness. So I am glad about the fact that ultimately they ended up together, but it feels like in a lot of ways Tushan Jing takes a bit of a back seat in this season, and I wish he was more active. I feel like, he spends a lot of time dead.
That is not untrue.
Yeah. And, part of what you love about him is that he's soft, right? Part of what you love about him is that he's kind and he's gentle and he makes stuff as kind and easy and gentle as possible for Xiao Yao. So, like, all of that warmed my spirit. But then when things got tough, he was dead. And I guess I kind of wanted more. I wanted to see him suffer more, I guess, and not just watch Xiao Yao suffer alone. And I'm assuming that we didn't get to see as much of his journey and things that were happening with him because of the cuts that had to be made to the show.
I agree. I think there was less lingering on things lasting a long time.
Yeah.
Which is something I love about part 1 that I think of necessity has to go when you have to cut like 15 or whatever of your episodes that you had planned.
God, that's really so many.
But I do want to say though that we do get a lot of Tushan Jing suffering at the beginning of part 2 when he and Xiao Yao are still estranged and he sees her getting ready to marry Fang Long. Like,
that's true.
Tushan Jing with like the increasing amounts of gray hair like hurt my heart.
Oh yeah. You know what it is? It's not so much that I was like, he didn't suffer enough this whole show, but it was more that when we were in the middle and they were like, we're going to get married because we love each other. I knew they weren't going to get married right away because they love each other. I knew there were going to be trials and tribulations. It was just that he was absent for those trials and tribulations. That was all Xiao Yao. So I guess what I was hoping for was the two of them being able to support each other, right? After they had reconciled, rather than him kind of like just dropping off the map and her being like, I believe that he'll come back to me. I don't know. It felt a little bit more passive than I wanted it to be, I guess.
So one of the other changes that I've only seen alluded to from the book is that I think his return was a lot more climactic in the book than it was in the show.
Huh.
Because
Okay.
he just, like, in the show finds Xiao Yao when she's, like, at the lake. And then they are reunited. But in the book, apparently there's this delightful scene where Xiao Yao has manipulated Song Zhuan into letting her become a nun rather than be with him, and she's in her like ceremony, like her swearing ceremony or whatever, to become a nun, and then Tushan Jing has a like stop the ceremony moment where he like appears back from the dead, which would have been great, but there was no longer
that
a
would have
reason.
been excellent.
There was no longer a reason for Xiao Yao to become a nun so that she doesn't have to marry Song Zhuan when Song Zhuan didn't kill Tushan Jing. So
that's right. She was just thinking about taking over the becoming a holy mother. Yeah. Which is kind of a nun, I guess. But I didn't quite understand why he couldn't leave on Jade Mountain with her. That didn't make sense to me. But maybe there's just something that I wasn't grasping. But neither here nor there. So I don't know. There were definitely things about Jing and Xiao Yao's storyline that made me very happy. So, for example, Li Rong is the best thing ever, honestly. Yeah. Where has he been my entire life?
Yes. So for context, Li Rong is like another heir to one of the great families that like runs the secret gambling dens. Yeah. And he like suddenly shows up in part 2 and is like besties with Fong Fong Bei, with Tushan Jing. He like is an advisor to Song Zhuan. He's just fucking everywhere all of a sudden. It's amazing. He's
so great. And he's like, I know some people didn't like how cocky he was when he would go to Xiao Yao and be like, you should give my buddy a chance. Don't mess around with Fong Fong Bei. Why are you with this guy? You should be with my friend. Right? But I just...
It's not his fault that he was manipulated into marrying someone. That's not his baby.
Yeah,
Or like,
he knew. He knew.
he didn't sleep with her on purpose.
Right?
He didn't.
You
That's
can't
true.
hold that
He didn't
against
sleep with her
him.
at all, but...
No, it's very... Well, we'll circle back to that, because I have words for Hao and Fang Fang Yi Ying. But he was just such an effervescent, like, breath of fresh air for me, especially because, you know, Fang Fang is fine, right? But, like, we all knew that gonna just put this out there. He was there for Sanxuan, right? He's not there for Xiao Yao. And, you know, that's who he was really in love with Sanxuan. When he, you know, that's who he wanted to uphold and love and all that kind of stuff. So it was nice to have another character to kind of just, I don't know, break up the flow of the story and break up what you expected to happen and add a different character dynamic, because Li Rong really did adore Jing and was kind of there for him in a lot of different ways. He was the one that never stopped searching for Jing on the sea. You know, so I thought he was delightful, and I'm glad he was an addition to that storyline. Also, I appreciated that because he was the dog. He was always, like, sniffing around for stuff. Like, he'd literally be smelling the air. I was like, this is the best thing ever. Oh,
yeah,
boy.
he was great.
You know, just an aside there, because he was fantastic. And I think I ranted about this in our batch of episodes about Lost You Forever season 1, but, you know, I had a lot of strong feelings about Xiao Yao's reaction to Fang Fang Yi Ying turning up pregnant, right? And the way that she treated Jing during that whole sequence, right? I think we had a long conversation about, like, victim blaming and all of that kind of stuff. So to see how that all wrapped up this season, I was very invested in kind of like that storyline and was happy personally with the way that it ended, but also with the way that Jing and Xiao Yao reconciled. And part of that was her making the realization that perhaps some of the ways that she behaved was in line with how she just pushes people away because she's just assuming that they're going to treat her poorly. Right?
Yeah, that was a huge moment of character growth for Xiao Yao, I think, for her to realize that not only was it a way in which she was setting up Jing to fail, because she was, by expecting him to deal with all his problems on his own and, like, expecting everyone to leave her and betray her and not put her first. It was also this realization that if she had been working with him the whole time, this might never have happened in the first place for him to have to overcome. So, like, that reconciliation that they had, and then Xiao Yao's plotting to expose Fang Fang Yi Ying, I think was quite satisfying. That was a delightful sequence.
Yeah. I was all on board with all of that. And I honestly, because all I needed at the end of season 1 was for Jing to know that that child wasn't his. And I knew in my heart of hearts that he would not abandon the child because of the kind of man that he is, right? And he didn't. He ends up raising the child. I don't recall if he tells him the truth of his parentage. Do you remember?
I don't remember if he does, but I know he basically leaves the Tushan clan to the kid to, like, wander the world with Xiao Yao. So, like, he got what he wanted in the end. I do think it was really, really, I don't know, it just says a lot about Tushan Jing's character that the thing that made him realize that he absolutely could not have slept with Fang Fang Yi Ying is seeing that she had taken the form of Xiao Yao and knowing that he would not have had sex with Xiao Yao for the first time in another woman's bedroom. He would never have done that. That was really sad. And also just spoke to, like, how much he loved Xiao Yao.
And also part of me is like, Xiao Yao, you should have trusted this man, but it's fine. It's fine. So I will say, though, this is, I guess, tangentially related to Xiao Yao and Jing, but how in Fang Fang Yi Ying, how they got exposed and their ultimate punishment, something that it just didn't sit well with me, is how much more of a punishment Yi Ying received than Hao received.
Yeah, that was
because
fucked.
yeah. And I think, well, Actually, I don't know. Let me ask you this. Do you think we as viewers are supposed to be more upset about that? Or is that just like the way that the cookie crumbled and they're both terrible? So we're just supposed to be like, it's fine, whatever. Because I know it bothered me. And like, I'm glad that Hao died, right? Because I hated him and he needed to go. But the fact that she had to suffer so much and then was killed with him, I don't know. I wanted to know your thoughts about that.
Yeah, so for context, there are two layers here. The first is that in the punishment from the Tushan family, Ying basically gave up all of her vitality for the betterment of the... It's like a magic drain. It looked like a magic draining kind of thing to me. And then Hao was just banished.
Because he lied and said that Ying seduced him and made him do all of the things that he was doing.
Rather than Hao manipulating and seducing Ying from the beginning.
Right.
So that also sat uncomfortably with me, and I think... I'm not sure if the show, like, supported a reading of that as uncomfortable, but I do think that it left room for it in that first layer. I will say I did find it... I wasn't sure how I felt, so in this sort of second confrontation between Fangfang Yiying and Tushan Hao, that I did find it satisfying for Yiying to be the one to kill Hao.
Yes.
Because fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy.
And I appreciated her, like, showing her statement being like, well, I'm mean and bitter and I hold grudges and, like, I am taking you down. Like, that was the most I've, like, been rooting for her this whole show.
This whole time. Yep.
But, yeah, their whole, like, dying in each other's arms at the end was also like, girl, why do you want that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And he was like, my wife, when Hao called her his wife while they were dying, right? To prove that he had actually loved her.
Just like that, scumbag. I don't know. I just don't have thoughts other than that man is a scumbag. And, like, Yiying fell for it, but she also did a lot of bad things of her own volition. So, like, they both deserve their punishment. I don't think their punishments were fair according to culpability because there's some built-in sexism into the system. But also, ugh. That's my TLDR. Ugh.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, I'm not saying that she should have got less of a punishment. I just think Hao should have gotten more of one. They should have both been drained.
That makes sense. Well, they couldn't do that to, like, a member of... I understand why they wouldn't want to do that to a member of the Tushan family. For, like, appearance's sake.
Well, they didn't say that she was getting drained for appearance sake. They said she got sick and died. So, like, you know.
Man. Yeah, that was just... It was satisfying when Xiao Yao and Tushan Jing reconciled. It was not as satisfying to see how things fell out between Fangfang Yiying and Tushan Hao. I guess is where I come down on that.
That's fair. I'm just glad he's dead.
Fair.
But okay, enough of my digression. Did you have any other Tushan Jing Xiao Yao feelings?
Yes, that I will use actually to transition us to talking about Xiang Liu. Because one of the things I actually really enjoyed watching part Lost You Forever 2 was the number of times I was still surprised. And like audibly gasping, like, what? Like, what just happened? Like, kind of surprised. And one of those times is when Xiang Liu, as Fangfang Bei, interrupted Xiao Yao's wedding with Fang
Yeah, that was good.
In a public, like, stop the wedding kind of way. That was excellent. Top tier.
Fantastic.
And the second time I audibly gasped was when Fangfang Bei, Xiang Liu, said that was not his choice. He was hired to do it by Tushan Jing. So the one who would actually stop the wedding was Jing.
Though I will say he didn't have to do it in the
he did it.
Did not have to do it in the fashion he did.
He is a mental bitch who loves drama. Like, he did it in the loudest way possible. But he also did it... Okay, I was thinking about this. I think it's because he also did it in a way that meant that Xiao Yao could never go back to Fang Long. Because if she had called it off in private, there's a way in which it could have been smoothed over in the future, but he did it so publicly and so embarrassingly. And Fong Long, who, as our boy Li Rong said, had never had a hard day in his life, was so publicly embarrassed that there was no going back.
No, that's so true. And also, good quote from Li Rong there. He's the best. He's just the best. No, you're absolutely right. I think, like, I will say both Xiang Liu and Jing do things, well, I guess all of, maybe except for Feng Long, all of Xiao Yao's swains do things with thinking 5 steps ahead every time. So anytime we see an action, there's actually like 15 other things that they're thinking of down the line. So it doesn't surprise me that he chose this moment to be the most embarrassing. In a sense, because our snake demon man knew that he and Xiao Yao were not meant to be and was doing weird things to help her get with Jing as well, which was, I don't know. I feel like heartbreaking might not be quite what I was feeling there, but I was sad for him this like entire show, you know?
Yeah, one of the things I kept thinking about this season, or this half, is that I had heard about the book that all of Xiao Yao's swains get basically approximately what they wanted at the end, but was it what they wanted? Was it what would make them happy?
I remember you saying that, yeah.
And I still think that's true, but with Xiang Liu, like, he got his tragic ending. He died for his mentor's cause. He took care of Xiao Yao as much as he could, but it was like an active choice he was making. He has so many times he could have chosen something else.
He does. He like chooses to be miserable, and
he
also
chooses to die.
I was just talking about throughout the show.
Like, okay, yes, that
he does
too.
Choose to die. He does choose to die, but there's just like, there are so many moments where he could like be less of an asshole.
Yeah, I think he's specifically an asshole to Xiao Yao. Like, yeah. And I think the show did a lot that I appreciated, but also like I found painful to show moments where he was pushing Xiao Yao away. He didn't want her to mourn for him, I think. So he wanted to make her not feel for him, and that was just like knowing how much he cared about her and loved her, and
but also vice versa.
Yeah,
how much she cared about him. Like, it was, I don't mean to cut you off, but I feel like that was the thing for me that was the most short-sighted about his character. If he's like, yes, don't think about me, I can just die and you won't be sad. It's like, my dude, how devastated is she going to be because she can't look back onto your like, I think the thing that I'm thinking about the most is when he erased her mirror that captured memories or captured moments in their relationship, and she goes to look at it and knows as soon as she can't activate it that he's the one that erased them. And it seems like completely misinterprets the reason that he erased those memories. I don't know. It just, he is so smart in everything except for his relationship with Xiao Yao. And I think that was one of the things that was so heartbreaking for me. But go on.
Yeah, there were so many moments where, like, when he told her that Fong Fong Bei was dead, that he basically sacrificed his alternate persona as Fong Fong Bei in order to stop the wedding. And that was the version of him that could have been with Xiao Yao. Like, I think the only moment where it legitimately felt like Xiao Yao could have ended up with Xiang Liu instead of Tushan Jing was when she and Tushan Jing were broken up and Tushan Jing was married to someone else and baby girl was on the rebound. That's like when the door was open and he did not walk through it. He slammed it shut.
Yep.
And it's like it was something he wanted. He just didn't choose to take it. Like, I don't know. So, like, there was when he told her Fong Fong Bei was dead, when he collected, like, a bunch of her blood and, like, acted like he didn't care about her, and then he only, like, broke down. Okay, a moment that really got me, that, like, when I see gifs of it on Tumblr, I am upset all over again, is when he, after she is passed out, after, like, giving him a bunch of her blood that he's going to use in his, like, last stand.
He used that blood to save her.
Did he use that to save her?
Yeah, that was, so, not to,
okay.
not to
no,
derail.
I totally probably missed this. Please correct me.
So the way I took that is that he used that blood that he gathered from her when he killed the bug. The poisonous love
that
bug.
makes more sense, actually. That makes me even more sad.
Yeah, sorry, but this is why I was so fucking devastated, because he's mean. He's like, I'm gonna use it for my soldiers. Fuck you, girl. Just give me your blood. And then he literally uses the blood to, like, save her life, even though he lost 2 of his heads, right? And then doesn't want anyone to tell her that he saved her. That he's so, like, it just makes me so upset.
The moment when she passes out and he kisses her wrist instead of, like, biting it the way he's, like, done the whole time was like, Xiang Liu, what are you doing?
God. I just grabbed my head.
Remember how in our first episode, our first Lost You Forever, we made a joke about, like, would we make ourselves cry? I don't think we're going to make ourselves cry now talking about Lost You Forever, but the closest I've come is thinking about Xiang Liu.
I'm just upset because I think I keep, like, holding my forehead because I think the thing, and this might be the circumstances of, you know, I live a very comfortable life here in non-ancient fantasy China, but, like, the thought that everyone is like, bro, you don't have to die for this. None of these people have to die for this. And everyone's like, nope, we're gonna die for it. I'm like, but life! You could live, and you could bring wonder to the world, and, like, So, I don't know. The whole Shenrong kind of, like, army going to its death is just a lot. And, like, I get it from a story standpoint, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But, like, I don't know. It seemed like everyone was trying to tell him how much he had to live for, and he just wouldn't believe it. Like, even his foster father was like, bro, you don't have to be here. You should go and live. And he's like, what for? I'm going to die. So I don't know. He just was so ready to let everything go and would not go towards the things that would make life worth living. I don't know. It just is so upsetting to me. Yeah, there was something else I was going to say, but now I'm just sad.
I mean, if this was a story about Xiang Liu, this would be a tragedy.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So his death scene destroyed me. Like, that was the thing that had me, like, weeping open mouth on the couch. But a moment that, like, really struck me to the core, and I'll try to give context for this, but feel free to jump back in. Towards the middle of the show, Xiao Yao's father, the king of Howling, brings her to the little house that her mother and Qichen had together. Now, there's a whole lot of dead mama stuff that happens in there that, of course, I was like, well, I'm just sad now, just going to cry. But Xiang Liu comes to the house after all is said and done and looks at the portrait that Qichen and Xiao Yao's mother, the warrior princess general of Jian, had painted of just the two of them together. And for a flash, Xiang Liu sees it as him and Xiao Yao. And I was just like, bruh. Like, don't do that to me, because you know you're not going to go for it. You know you're just making yourself sad, and you're making me sad. Right?
Well, I mean, there was a way in which I think the double layers of that were really well done by the show, because there is, like, a setup of, like, him and he's imagining him and Xiao Yao together, but the way he sees it is that if he and Xiao Yao were together, they would have the same end as the Princess General and Qichen, which was that they died killing each other, basically, for their respective kingdoms.
But Xiao Yao just wanted to disappear into the ether, bro. You could have disappeared together.
So one of the readings that I saw on Tumblr, that they were never going to do this. This is a C-drama. But I would like to propose that polyamory was the answer.
Boom. Yes. 100% it was.
Like Tushan,
You're
Jing,
right.
Xiang Liu, and Xiao Yao, dream team. Like, I really actually found Tushan, Jing, and Xiang Liu's interactions in this part in particular very compelling.
Yeah, and you know what? Honestly, I don't think Tushan Jing would mind. It would make Xiao Yao a little hypocritical, being like, I can't marry no man with 2 wives, but I'm gonna have me two little side pieces here. However, I don't disagree. But I don't know if Xiang Liu could have lived with it. I think he's perhaps a bit too territorial.
Yeah, he might be a one-woman kind of guy.
Yeah, I think Jing would have been like, whatever, I get to live with Xiao Yao and sweep.
But and he could just, like, cook for both of them, and, like, they could live in domestic bliss.
I think, and honestly, Xiang Liu wouldn't even be there all the time. He'd go off and Fong Fong Bay and then, come back and be like, I'm here for dinner and blood. Like, I don't know. I think it could have worked.
All right. Do we have any other thoughts about Xiang Liu except being sad and mad about his ending?
I want some happiness for sad demons, I guess. So, honestly, though, part of the reason that I need to watch something fluffy and silly right now is because I was so devastated by Xiang Liu. Because he just would not get a happy ending, and I knew he would not get a happy ending, but I really wanted him to have one. So I need to watch something right now that is going to give me fluff and happiness, because I was really devastated about this demon man. Oh, and then I'm sorry, just a little close reading here. When he's lying on the ground after the battle and he sheds that one tear, because I think his death scene was shot really beautifully.
Yeah.
And it touched me in a way that I don't think other death sequences in the show have. The way I think that they kind of lingered on him, the way that Rusho, who started as kind of like one of the right-hand men of the King of Howling and had a funny kind of back and forth with Anyan, and ended up being one of a fantastic general for Howling, but when the 2 kingdoms combined, he became a right-hand man for Sanxuan. But when Rusho was like, we will not tear him apart, he's been a worthy opponent, we just need to get out of here before his body explodes with poison miasma, right? The sense of dignity that the show gave to Xiang Liu at the end, I think, was really beautiful. And the fact that he went back to his memories with Xiao Yao. Yeah, you're right. This is the closest I think I'm getting to crying while we're talking about it. But so yeah, that was a lot. Well, okay, I said one last thing, and then I told you I have a lot of feelings about this. But
you're the demon scholar here. It makes sense.
But I think this will also be a good lead-in to talking about Anyan, because I have a lot of feelings about her as well. But at the very end, when Anyan gives her the little wooden doll with the pill, or gives Xiao Yao, I should say, the little wooden doll with the pill inside that she made for the last thing that she made for Xiang Liu, like as kind of a ticking time bomb for her finding out like who saved her and like all this kind of stuff. Because Xiang Liu made Anyan promise not to say what happened, but Anyan is a sneaky little son of a gun, and she's like left a little treat for Xiao Yao to put some pieces together. So I know the story is not going to continue, right? But I like to think that there's a place where Xiao Yao can really actually understand how much Xiang Liu loved and cared for her beyond all of his fuckery of trying to push her away.
Yeah, I agree. Also, maybe as the coda for that, I did really appreciate his absolutely bonkers performance of Chi-Chen's, like, metal song about, like, blood and, like, I don't... That was very funny.
It's a love song. There's just a lot of blood involved. Because it's a demon love song. It has,
like, electric guitar in the background. Like, it's a lot.
It makes me think of my favorite silly ending theme song from Love Between Fairy and Devil, the like hard rock song that like none of the other songs are like that on the soundtrack except for that one.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So shall we talk about then my favorite spoiled brat, who is a much less spoiled brat by the end, Princess Anyan?
Yes, because Anyan made a 360, or let's try that again, made a 180 in my heart because that was your girl, season 1. I was like, okay, Corinne. Sure.
Why do you like this character? She sucks.
No. I can understand the allure of liking a sucky character, but I was just like, baby girl, that's all you. Go for it. But this season, I am carrying the banner for Anyan. Like, I adored her this season, and I think of all of the characters, for me, she had one of the most satisfying arcs from the beginning of this part, but also from the beginning of her introduction to the end.
Yeah, she came so far. So I didn't finish my rewatch of Lost You Forever Part 1 before Lost You Forever Part 2 started. I was missing 10 episodes or so. But Anyan truly was a brat who did not care about other people, only cared about herself, caused a lot of harm. And she wasn't mean. She wasn't evil, but she was very selfish.
She was mean.
She was mean. But she wasn't she would hurt people when they did things that offended her. She wouldn't hurt people just to hurt people. So she didn't think about consequences. She didn't do any of that. But when we get to, she grew up so much, and when we talk about betrayal, Songjuan betrayed her too. And didn't even really care about making up for it the way he did for Xiao Yao.
Yep.
So, for some context, when Songjuan decides to invade Howling, he, does a lot to try and make it up to Xiao Yao and, prove that he still cares about her and all of this. He does none of that for Anyan, who is still fully a princess of Howling.
And in love with him.
And he's basically, she's grown up with him, as her Goga, and, gosh, when he invaded Howling, I just felt so bad for her, and, when she sees him choose to marry all these other women when she wanted to marry him. That's all she wanted. And then by the time that he invades Howling and then is winning and basically she's gonna marry him as a political marriage to end the war, she doesn't really want to marry him anymore. But she does it anyway because she's grown up and she is the princess of Howling and she will behave in the way that is best for her people. Yeah.
I think one of the saddest moments of symmetry for me, beyond the one we just talked about with Qichen and Xiang Liu, is when Xiao Yao is getting fake married to Fenglong, and Anyan is like, oh man, when I marry the man I love, I'm going to pick out all these details, from the blush to the lip color to the dress to the this to the that.
I'm going to care so much. I'm going to be so excited.
Yep. And then when we actually get to her wedding day, she doesn't give two shits about anything. And she's just letting everybody choose. And my heart shattered because not even just Xiao Yao swains, but a lot of people get what they think they wanted in this. And it doesn't make them happy. And Anyan, it was funny because her dad, Papa Howling, pretended to be sick to raise concerns about heirs and next in line and all of that kind of stuff. In part to sow the seeds for giving the kingdom over to Songjuan, right? Papa Howling was also scheming. But in seeing her father get sick, because of course no one tells Anyan anything because they think she's a fool, right? She's like, I have to step up to the plate. No one thinks I can do this, and I have to prove to them that I can. And so she starts reading The Art of War and making flashcards, But then, and I think even though I am very satisfied with Anyan's story, this is one of the places where some of the cuts may have taken some stuff out. Because she goes from reading The Art of War to being well, I'm a fucking badass general bitch now. And she's going to lead one of the armies in battle, which she does a good job of. She also tries to do a murder, where she sneaks
she tries to do an assassination. She fails, but I appreciate that she tried.
Yes, and it gave a moment for her and Xiao Yao to reconcile during this whole war and howling situation, because their sisterhood is also one of the most important relationships, I think, in the series. So by the time we get to by Anyan's wedding to Sanchuan, she's like matured so much, and she's lost a lot of that like spiteful energy, let's say.
She's still like not even keeled isn't quite what I mean. She is even keeled, but it's like she was higher pitched before, and then she's lower pitched now, and like much more measured, but in a way that's not like inherent to her. It's because of how much she's sort of like suffered in order to gain this maturity. Yeah.
So it's like really sad, actually, that she has to do this kind of maturing, and that's what made, in part, their wedding so sad. But what I've appreciated is the way that coming out of this, she's able to do her own little schemes that actually works. Not to look down on her scheming, right? But I more mean that in scale they are smaller. So she now does things and can see things and see that the way the world works, and doesn't need the protection of like Sanchuan or Xiao Yao or her father, right? She can move about the world herself. And while I was proud of her for that, I was sad about the route that it had to take to get her to this point, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think another moment where her maturity was really, really clear is when she and Xiao Yao reunite after Xiao Yao has been... So actually, I loved when the rumors were spreading about Xiao Yao being like illegitimate and not actually being a princess of Howling, that Anyan was like ready to fucking fight everybody.
Yeah, she was. She was.
Nuh-uh, how dare. Like, we had... Like, father, right now, like, you need to, like, do this, like, thing. I don't remember what it was. To, like, prove that she is a princess of Howling. Like, how dare
like a blood thing. Yeah.
And then, like, Daddy Howling was like, no, I can't. The rumors are true. But, like, and Xiao Yao thinks then that means that Anyan won't want her as a sister anymore. But, like, when they meet again, Anyan's like, I was waiting for you to come back. And, like, that was a really sort of poignant to me moment where like Xiao Yao has this narrative that she repeats over and over again that is that she's always the one waiting for people who have left her. But that's a moment where she like didn't realize that like Anyan was waiting for her and she didn't come.
Yep. She did the same thing.
And that Anyan's like, no, like once you're my sister, like you're my sister forever. Like it doesn't matter. Like that doesn't matter to me. You're my Jijia. Like oh, poor Anyan.
I mean, also for me, the thing that really tickled me is she saw Xiang Liu at the end for all of, 5 minutes and knew that he was in love with Xiao Liu.
Yeah. Like, I think her only other, like, main interaction with him is when he manipulated her into pushing Xiao Yao off a fucking cliff.
Yeah, right?
And she sees him again and is like, oh, not only did he just sacrifice 2 of his lives to save her, this snake demon man is in love with her.
Yeah, that's all it took. And Xiao Yao's like, he's mean, so he can't love me. I'm like, girl. But anyhow, so yeah, I really appreciated Anyan this season. You know, I think she will be okay. Yeah. I think that Sanchuan will treat her well. I hope she has some consorts that she actually likes. You know?
So, maybe as a sort of last question here, what do we think of the final ending of Xiao Yao and Tushan Jing disappearing, basically, from Songzhuan and everyone else and basically wandering Da Huang? Because it's sort of implied here, or it's shown, that Xiao Yao gets the power back to change her appearance. And she takes herself away from Songzhuan and everyone and sort of disappears back into her life as a wandering, I assume, doctor, a wandering physician. And that is and Songzhuan is just so sad because, like, he doesn't know where she is. And he goes back to Qingshui Town kind of, not necessarily to look for her, but it is sort of this callback to the very beginning of the show when he was in Qingshui Town to look for her. How did that work for you?
Anyan's there too. I mean, in my head, I was like, well, Lost You Forever. So, like, you know, I think this is what she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe I appreciated kind of the quiet way that she just faded away.
Mm-hmm.
I think this might not make sense, but like I get she wanted to remove herself from San Juan in the kingdom, but I'm a little mad that she did this to Anyan, especially since she said that, you know, she would stop by and see people, and for her to just disappear off the face of the earth, it's kind of like, it feels like she talks a lot about abandoning people, right? And about this whole, one of the big through lines in this is about her mother making the decision. I put quotes around making the decision, but like fighting Xichen and them killing each other and abandoning her, for then her to go and abandon all the people that care about her after
Mm-hmm.
she has realized that people care about her. So I don't know. I know that this is what she wanted, but also I'm kind of like, she's doing the same thing that she's
Mm-hmm.
accused everyone of doing, you know?
So my reading of it is the reason it doesn't ring quite true is because that ending makes sense when Song Juan has betrayed her. It makes less sense when he hasn't done like the ultimate betrayal and instead has just, I mean, I think they try and set it up so instead of having Song Juan be the one set up the assassination of Tushan Jing, they have it be his consort queen.
She's a queen.
Oh, right, because Anyan, there can be two queens, there can't be two kings, but there can be two, whatever. But the Jinwei is his queen, and then Anyan is also his queen. But Jinwei is the one who set up the assassination, and Shang Zhuan for political reasons, and also because of his promise to Feng Long, who died saving him, does not hold Jinwei accountable for her actions. So there is a way in which that is a betrayal, but I don't know if it is enough of a betrayal as if Song Juan had set up the assassination himself for it to fully make sense for Xiao Yao to disappear and never return.
Yeah, I would agree. Disappearing and never returning. I think it's the never returning part that bothers me, because I'm like, sure, go off, wander. This is what you wanted to do forever. Go be a wandering physician. But like, never returning after you've rebuilt all these connections and done all this stuff, you're right, doesn't necessarily make the most sense if San Juan hasn't like completely betrayed her trust.
I will say in my head canon, because Song Juan has to like divide his attention between his two queens and they sort of have their own like halves of the kingdom. In my head canon, Xiao Yao still secretly visits Anyan.
Okay. All right.
But because Song Juan is sometimes elsewhere. Yeah, so that's what I told myself.
You know what? I totally rock with that head canon, because yeah, I feel like she can sneak and visit her great grandpa, or no, I guess he's just grandpa, right? Yeah, sneak and visit Grandpa Xian.
Her foster daddy, and Anyan will keep secrets from Song Juan now, I think. So like I think she could visit her too.
Yeah, 100%. So, you know, I think I'm on board. Mm-hmm. I support it. I don't know. I feel like we've said a lot of things about this show. About this half of this show.
It's not even a half, really. It's like a third if we think about like the length.
Jesus. But were there any last lingering things that you wanted to talk about outside of some of the like bigger movements that we've covered?
Yeah, this isn't a deep thought. I just really wish, because part one was so good, and the storytellers had such like a strong hold of like their craft and pacing and storytelling and characterization. I just wish that I could see the version that they wanted to make.
Yeah, like the director's cut. Maybe one day, who knows?
I am looking forward to like these actors' work as they go forward, because I think,
for sure.
I mean, a lot of them have been active for a long time, like particularly Yongxi, who played Xiao Yao. But this is like I haven't seen a lot of her other work, so like I can't say this, but one of the things I have seen is that she's played a lot of bimbos over the years.
Okay.
So seeing her play like a really smart woman was very refreshing, and I hope she gets to continue to do that. And I will obviously be keeping an eye out for all of their work as they go forward. And I hope this is enough to kick up the the 3 or all 4 of her swains actually into like leading man status as opposed to just like the second fiddle characters.
Yeah, no, I support that. And I guess really quickly, one last shout out to the soundtrack, which watching this reminds me how much I love it. And I'll just be humming it to myself. So
yeah, those songs have been back on my on repeat for a month now.
Every now and again, my daily list will be like C-drama soundtrack, and I'm like, okay, you know the one soundtrack I really want to listen to, but I see where you're getting this from.
Oh, my daily list on Spotify is always has some iteration of C-drama. It like goes back and forth between C-drama, OSTs, K-pop, and like instrumental soundtrack. That's like the circulation of like the soundtrack of my life. With some Taylor Swift in there occasionally.
It's just sprinkled in. Yeah. But okay, this has been quite a robust conversation of Lost You Forever, Part 2. If you have also watched Lost You Forever and you want to talk to us about it, there are a bunch of places that you can do this. You can find us on Instagram at SexLoveLit. You can find us on Tumblr at SexLoveLitPodcast.
I will say about our Tumblr, our asks are open. So, like, you can ask lengthy questions on Tumblr if you want to.
And people have. Like, I fully support you doing that. You'll probably get a response from Corinne unless you're like, Ayanni, I need you to tell me something. But, like, I read them. So, you know, definitely ask us stuff on Tumblr. And I was also going to just plug our website. You can also send us emails and messages through that as well. sexlovelitpodcast.com. Yeah. So, Corinne, what do we have coming up?
Girl, I don't know. No thoughts, head empty. I'm just sad about Ayanni and Xiang Liu again.
So we have some sadness coming up. Corinne and I are going to go our separate ways and cry a little bit. But coming down the pike, we are going to be doing an episode on the book. We're doing a book, Last Night at the Telegraph Club, which is going to be very exciting. We have a special guest that is joining us for that I'm looking forward to. Also, this year, we are once again participating in the Young Adult Studies Association virtual conference. So we're going to be doing a special episode that is all going to be about teaching banned books in classrooms. We have 2 special guests for that as well. So I think that's going to be our October episode, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes. So yeah, those are some things we have coming up. We are very excited about it. Thank you for joining us once again to talk about Lost You Forever 2. And we'll talk to you next time.
Bye!